The Titanic. By now, everybody has at least heard about it or watched the movie. With 1,517 people losing their lives, the tragic accident of the Titanic is considered one of the worst maritime incidents in the world. Let's take a look at several maritime accidents that cost more lives than the Titanic. SS Sultana. American Civil War ended on April 9th of 1965. After the war, lots of people were waiting to go back to home to their families. On 27th of April 1965, SS Sultana was traveling north on Mississippi River with over 2,300 people on board, including soldiers returning from war, refugees, prisoners, officers, and crew members. Even though the ship's maximum capacity is 350 people and 85 crew members, the ship was carrying more than 2,300 people at the time. The captain of the SS Sultana was promised to pay for each passenger he brings home. He agreed to carry more people to make more money off one trip. The upper parts of the Mississippi River was getting heavy rains, which made the water aggressive in the latter part of the river. SS Sultana was traveling towards the opposite direction of the water flow. On board, there were more than 7 times of the passengers the ship can take at a time, resulting in overpressure on the boiler of the ship. Sadly, this caused the boiler to explode. This explosion completely destroyed the ship, and more than 1,800 people lost their lives. The tragedy of SS Sultana is considered the biggest marine accident of the U.S. history. RMS Empress of Ireland. The incident of the RMS Empress of Ireland is the biggest maritime accident in the history of Canada. On May 29, 1914, RMS Empress of Ireland was sailing towards the Atlantic Ocean through the St. Lawrence River. She was sailing at a lower speed because the visibility was significantly impaired due to heavy fog at the time. Reports say that it was almost impossible to see anything in front of the ship. In the meantime, the Norwegian ship SS Storstad was closing in on RMS Empress of Ireland from the opposite direction. Due to the heavy fog, both ships couldn't see each other. By the time the captains saw the ships, it was too late to change course, and the ships collided into each other. RMS Empress took heavy damage and started to sink. 1,012 passengers out of 1,417 passengers traveling on the ship at the time lost their lives. This is the worst maritime accident in Canadian history. SS Eastland. The accident of the SS Eastland is bizarre compared to other maritime accidents. SS Eastland was docked in the port of the Chicago River. Employees of the U.S. company Western Electric were getting ready to board the ship to go on their annual company get-together. Around 7 a.m., passengers started boarding the ship. There was no supervision in boarding passengers, and approximately 50 people were getting on board per minute, which is against boarding protocol. Passengers getting onto the ship started gathering on one side of the ship. Crew members tried to get the passengers into correct positions to even out the weight distribution, but the passengers were too excited and didn't follow the crew members' directions. The Chicago River had aggressive water levels at the time, and significant weight imbalance caused by passengers gathering on one side of the ship caused the ship to lose its balance and angle towards the river. Within no time, the ship started sinking. There were more than 200 people on board at the time, and 844 people lost their lives to this tragic incident. SS Kanga. The accident of SS Kanga in 1948 is considered one of the worst maritime accidents in history. On December 4, 1948, SS Kanga was sailing towards Ningbo from Shanghai. Reports indicate that there were more than 2,200 people on board the ship, even though the ship is designed to carry 1,200 passengers. Apart from the crew of the ship, almost all of these passengers on the ship were refugees of the Chinese Civil War happening at the time. While the ship was on its course to Ningbo, an explosion happened and the ship started to sink. There are many theories on what caused the explosion, but the most acceptable among the theories is that the ship hit a mine laid by the Japanese Navy in World War II. Later, it was revealed that there were more than 4,500 people on board at the time of the accident, and around 3,920 people lost their lives to this tragic accident. This remains as one of the biggest maritime accidents in history. MV Donapa and Mt Vector. The sea around the Philippines is known to be rough. The tragedy of MV Donapa and Mt Vector is the biggest maritime accident that happened in the Sea of the Philippines. On December 20, 1987, more than 4,300 passengers were on board the ship MV Donapa to travel to Manila from Leyte Island. At the time, she was carrying more than twice the capacity it can hold. It was said that there were passengers passengers even on the deck of the ship. Mt Vector, a tanker ship filled with oil, was traveling towards the opposite side of MV Donapa. Around 10 p.m., the two ships got closer to each other, and reports indicate that there were no officers in the controlling rooms of both ships. As a result, these two ships collided into each other. Mt Vector exploded immediately after the collision, and both ships sank after the accident. 4,386 people lost their lives, with only 26 survivors. Reports after the accident were terrifying, as not only was MV Donapa carrying more than twice its capacity, but it was also said that it didn't have radio communication and the life jackets were locked away. It was also revealed that the tanker Victor was operating without a license, as it was not in the condition to sail in the sea. This is the worst maritime accident in history that happened in a peaceful time. MV Vilhelm Gustof. MV Vilhelm Gustof is a German military transport ship. On January 30, 1945, MV Vilhelm Gustof was sailing in the Baltic Sea. On board the ship, they had more than 10,000 people, including refugees of World War II from Germany, Poland, Lithuania, and military personnel. Close to 9,000 people were civilians. On its way, MV Vilhelm Gustof was spotted by a Soviet submarine S-13. Reports indicate radar systems of MV Vilhelm Gustof and also the accompanying ship, which was offered for the protection of the ship, was not functioning at the time. Even though it was underarmed, the ship didn't possess enough firepower. So the Soviet submarine followed the ship for 2 hours and launched a torpedo attack. She was struck by several torpedoes and destroyed, sinking later. Later reports revealed that there were more than 10,600 people on board, and more than 9,600 lost their lives, making this the largest maritime disaster.